Have you ever noticed that most of our disappointment comes not from life itself, but from what we quietly expected it to be? Many of us spend our lives doing the right things, caring for others, working honestly, trying to be good people. And yet there comes a moment, often later in life, when we feel a quiet disappointment we cannot fully explain. Not anger, not sadness, just a gentle question inside. Why does it still feel heavy? In this reflection, I want to explore something we rarely talk about openly: the silent expectations we carry and how they shape our peace or quietly take it away. This is not a teaching about giving up on life. It is an invitation to see life more clearly and to discover a freedom that does not depend on outcomes. If you are seeking a quieter way of understanding life, a way that brings clarity without pressure, you are very welcome here. This is Son.Mindfulness, a space for gentle reflection, lived wisdom, and inner peace. I'm grateful to have you here, walking this path together. Part 1: The Silent Contract. Let me begin this conversation gently. Not with a theory, not with a definition, but with a feeling many of us know very well. Have you ever done everything right in your life and still felt disappointed? You raised your children with care, patience, sacrifice, and somewhere deep inside, you expected, perhaps quietly, that they would understand you, remember you, stay close. But life didn't unfold exactly that way. You worked honestly for decades. You showed up early, stayed late, followed the rules, and you expected, again, maybe without saying it out loud, that life would reward that goodness with security, respect, or peace. Yet here you are, wondering why it still feels heavy. Or maybe you're simply a good person. You listen, you help, you forgive, and part of you expected that kindness would come back to you in the same measure. If any of this feels familiar, you are not alone. I have sat with many people in their later years, thoughtful people, sincere people, who said to me quietly, almost with embarrassment, "I don't understand why I feel so disappointed. I didn't expect much, or at least I thought I didn't." And this is where we begin. Because disappointment does not come from life being cruel. It comes from something much more subtle. It comes from a silent contract we sign with life. A contract we don't remember signing. A contract that says, if I do this, then life should give me that. Parents sign this contract with their children. I gave you everything, so you should become who I hoped you'd be. Older adults sign this contract with society. I contributed, so I should be seen, respected, not forgotten. Kind-hearted people sign this contract with the world. I treated others well, so I should be treated well in return. And here's the painful truth, spoken gently. Life never agreed to this contract. Not because life is unfair, but because life does not work through guarantees. Expectation is where we try to turn life into a negotiation. From a Buddhist perspective, this is not called hope. It is called attachment, upadana, clinging to an outcome in order to feel safe. From a psychological perspective, it is even more revealing. Modern neuroscience shows us that the human brain is not designed primarily for happiness. It is designed for predictability. The brain wants to know what will happen next. It wants certainty. And when certainty is not available, it creates expectation as a substitute. Expectation becomes a plan, a mental rehearsal, a way of saying, if I can just imagine how this will turn out, maybe I won't be hurt. But here is the paradox I have seen again and again, both in research and in real lives. The very thing we use to protect ourselves from pain becomes the source of our deepest suffering. Because when reality does not follow our plan, and it never fully does, the disappointment feels personal. We don't just think, this didn't work out. We think, something is wrong. With them, with life, with me. I once spoke with an elderly man who told me, I wasn't angry when my children moved away. I was just confused. I thought family stayed close. That sentence held decades of unspoken expectation. Another woman said, I'm not sad about getting older. I'm sad that no one seems to need me anymore. Again, not sadness about aging, but about an expectation life did not fulfill. So let me say this clearly and kindly. Expectation is not hope. It is fear disguised as planning. Hope is open. Expectation is tight. Hope says, I will walk this path and see what unfolds. Expectation says, this must happen, or I will not be okay. And when we are no longer okay, we blame life. Or we blame others. Or most painfully, we blame ourselves. But the Buddha offered a radical alternative, not pessimism, not withdrawal, but clarity. He taught that suffering does not come from loss itself, but from our insistence that life should unfold according to our inner script. When we expect, we are not meeting life as it is. We are meeting life as we demand it to be. And that demand, no matter how reasonable it feels, creates tension in the heart. I want you to pause here. Just for a moment. Think of one expectation you have carried quietly. Not a dramatic one, just a small, persistent one. Something you thought should have happened by now. Can you feel how that expectation lives in the body? Perhaps as tightness, perhaps as fatigue, perhaps as a quiet sadness you rarely name. This is not a failure. It is a human response to uncertainty. And there is nothing wrong with you for feeling this way. But there is another way to live, a way that does not require bargaining with life in order to feel at peace. We will walk toward that together, slowly. For now, I leave you with this reflection to carry into your day. What expectation am I still asking life to honor? And what might happen if I gently let go of that demand? Sit with that question. There is no rush. Part 2. Why the mind clings. Let us go a little deeper now. Not into philosophy alone, but into the mechanism of the mind itself. Because if we only say, attachment causes suffering, many people quietly think, then why can't I stop? I want to speak honestly with you here. Even after decades of study, practice, and sitting with others, I still notice moments when my own mind tightens its grip. So this is not a conversation from above. It is a conversation from inside. You see, the mind does not cling because it is weak. It clings because it is afraid. In Buddhist teaching, this clinging is called upadana. It means grasping, holding, refusing to release. But beneath upadana lies something even more subtle, something quieter, something more personal. The Buddha called it asmimana. It translates roughly as I am, the deep, almost invisible sense of self that says, I exist, therefore I must protect myself. Asmimana is not arrogance. It is not ego in the loud sense. It is the basic feeling of me-ness, the identity that wants continuity, safety, and reassurance. Modern psychology has arrived at a similar insight using different language. Neuroscience tells us that the brain is a predictive organ. It is constantly asking one question over and over again, what is likely to happen next? Not to make us happy, but to keep us alive. The brain evolved to reduce uncertainty. Because for most of human history, uncertainty meant danger. So when the future feels unclear, when relationships change, when roles shift, when aging reminds us that time is limited, the brain becomes alert. And what does it do? It creates expectations. Expectation becomes the mind's way of saying, if I can predict this, if I can control the outcome, maybe I can finally relax. But notice something important. The mind does not ask, is this expectation true? It asks, does this expectation make me feel safer right now? This is why we cling. A parent clings to the idea of a certain future for their child, not because they want control, but because uncertainty feels unbearable. An older adult clings to the hope of being needed, not because they fear solitude, but because invisibility feels like a threat to identity. A good person clings to the belief that kindness will be repaid, not because they want reward, but because unfairness feels destabilizing. Expectation becomes a psychological safety blanket. And like all safety blankets, it works, briefly. But then something subtle happens. The more we rely on expectation to feel safe, the less resilient we become to reality. Because reality, by its nature, is uncertain. So the mind tightens further. It plans more. It worries more. It rehearses conversations that may never happen. It replays the past, imagining how it should have gone. This is where chronic anxiety is born. Not from danger itself, but from the constant effort to eliminate uncertainty. I once spoke with a retired teacher who told me, "I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of not knowing what comes next." That sentence says everything. It is not suffering that frightens us most. It is not knowing. The Buddha saw this clearly. He taught that attachment is not just to things or people, but to views, identities, and stories about who we are supposed to be. We cling to being the responsible one, the needed one, the respected one, the good one. And when life threatens those identities, the mind reacts as if something essential is being taken away. From a psychological point of view, this is called safety-seeking behavior. The mind scans for anything that might destabilize the self-image and then tries to control it. Expectation becomes one of its favorite tools. But here is the cost, and it is a cost many people pay quietly for years. Living in expectation keeps the nervous system slightly activated at all times, not panicked, just tense, always waiting, always monitoring, always bracing. This is why so many people say, "I should be at peace by now," but I'm not. Peace cannot grow in a mind that is constantly checking the future. The Buddha did not ask us to stop caring. He asked us to see why we cling. And when we see clearly, something begins to soften. Because here is the truth, spoken gently. The mind does not seek happiness. It seeks certainty. Once you understand this, you stop fighting the mind. You stop shaming yourself for worrying. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" Instead, you say, "This is fear trying to protect me." And fear, when met with understanding rather than resistance, loses much of its power. I want you to try a small reflection with me now. Think of something you are waiting for. An answer, a change, a recognition. Notice how the mind leans forward into the future. Now ask yourself, not judgmentally, just curiously, what am I afraid would happen if I stopped expecting anything here? Often, the answer is not logical. It is emotional. I would feel unimportant. I would feel alone. I would feel like my life didn't matter. This is Asmimana speaking, the identity asking to be reassured. And this is where the path opens, not by forcing the mind to let go, but by offering it something deeper than certainty. We will speak about that next. For now, I leave you with this thought to sit with quietly. If the mind is not seeking happiness, but safety, what kind of safety does not depend on the future? Hold that question gently. There is wisdom waiting inside it. Part 3. Expectation versus love versus action. At this point, many people ask me a sincere question. If I let go of expectation, how am I supposed to live? It's a fair question, and it deserves an honest answer. Let me share a simple image, one I've returned to many times over the years. Imagine 3 people on the same river, each in a small boat. The river is life, the current is time, and none of them can stop the water from moving. What makes them different is how they relate to the journey. The first person is what I call the demander. The demander rows with tension. They have a clear picture of how the journey should look. Calm waters, favorable winds, a smooth arrival. When the river turns rough, they grow angry. They curse the current. They feel betrayed. In relationships, the demander loves in order to receive. I gave you my time, my loyalty, my youth, so you should give me attention, appreciation, certainty. There is warmth in this love, but also fear. Fear of loss, fear of being taken for granted, fear of not being enough. Many people live here for most of their lives without realizing it, especially good people, especially devoted parents, especially those who sacrificed quietly. The second person is the dreamer. The dreamer does not demand as much. They row softly, sometimes not at all. They trust that the river will carry them somewhere beautiful. They call it hope. But hope without grounding can become avoidance. In relationships, the dreamer says, love should just flow. If it's meant to be, it will work out. When disappointment comes, they feel lost rather than angry. They didn't brace themselves, but they also didn't prepare. This kind of hope feels lighter than expectation, but it still depends on outcomes. Then there's the third person, the practitioner. This person understands something subtle. They know they cannot control the river, but they can learn how to row. They adjust their effort to the conditions. When the wind shifts, they shift with it. When the current pulls hard, they steady themselves. They are not passive, and they are not demanding. They are present. In life, the practitioner focuses on right action, not guaranteed results. In relationships, this shows up most clearly in how they love. They love to give, not to secure. This does not mean they accept mistreatment. It means their love is not a transaction. They do not love in order to be filled. They love from fullness. This distinction becomes especially important as we grow older. Many people come to me and say, I don't expect much anymore. I just don't want to be alone. But underneath that sentence is often another one, unspoken. I hope someone will still need me. That hope is understandable and deeply human. But love that depends on being needed is fragile, because needs change. Love that comes from giving, from presence, from listening, from simple kindness is far more stable. Here is something I have learned through years of observation, not theory. When love is free of expectation, it becomes stronger, not weaker. Expectation says, if you change, I will suffer. Love says, even as things change, I can remain open. This kind of love is not cold. It is courageous. It allows children to grow into who they are, not who we imagined. It allows partners to age, soften, and change without fear of losing worth. It allows us to care deeply without holding life hostage to our hopes. This is the love that does not cling, the love that does not demand guarantees, the love that can breathe, and it is closely connected to how we act in the world. The practitioner does not wait for life to feel safe before acting wisely. They act wisely because life is uncertain. They speak kindly, not to be praised, but because kindness is right. They help, not to be remembered, but because compassion is alive in them. This is freedom in action. So let me leave you with this image to carry with you today. Which boat feels most familiar to you right now? The one rowing with tension? The one drifting on hope? Or the one learning how to move with the river? And I leave you with this sentence, perhaps the most important of all. Love without expectation is not cold. It is fearless. Sit with that and see what opens inside you. Part 4, the sixth-stage inner alchemy. Now we come to the heart of this journey. Not ideas, not philosophy, but practice. I want to say this clearly before we go on. There's nothing wrong with you if letting go feels difficult. If it were easy, it would not be a path, it would be a slogan. What I'm about to share is not something you master once. It is something you return to again and again, especially as life changes, as roles fall away, as the future becomes less certain. Think of this not as a technique, but as an inner alchemy. A gradual transformation that happens when awareness meets honesty. So let's walk through it slowly, as if we were sitting together, breathing the same quiet air. The first movement is feel. Before the mind explains anything, the body already knows. Expectation always shows up somewhere in the body first. A tightening in the chest, a heaviness in the stomach, a shallow breath. a subtle pressure behind the eyes. Most of us were taught to move past these sensations quickly, to distract ourselves, to explain them away. But transformation begins when we stay. So the next time disappointment appears, do not ask, "Why do I feel this way?" Ask instead, "Where do I feel this?" And then pause. Let the sensation be there without fixing it, without improving it. Just feel. This is not weakness, this is courage. The second movement is name. Once the body is acknowledged, we bring gentle clarity. Quietly, kindly, you say to yourself, "This is expectation." Not judgment, not blame, just recognition. Naming creates space. Instead of being lost inside the emotion, you are now standing beside it. You are no longer drowning in the water. You are noticing the waves. Many people tell me this alone changes everything, because when you name expectation, it loses its authority. It is no longer truth, it is a mental event. And then we move to the third movement, one that requires honesty. See the fear underneath. Expectation is never the root. Fear is. Fear of being unimportant, fear of being forgotten, fear of being alone, fear that life will end without meaning. I want you to know something important here. Fear does not mean you are failing spiritually. Fear means you are human. So instead of pushing fear away, we look at it. You might ask softly, "What am I afraid would happen if this expectation is not met?" Do not rush the answer. Often it comes as a feeling before it comes as words. Stay with it. This is where compassion begins, not for others, but for yourself. Now we come to the fourth movement, the most liberating of all, disidentify. This is where Buddhist wisdom becomes lived experience. You gently remind yourself, "I am not this fear. I am not this expectation. I am aware of them." This is not denial. This is perspective. You are not pushing the feeling away. You are no longer wearing it as your identity. Think of the sky and the clouds. The clouds may be dark, they may move slowly, but the sky is not damaged by them. You are the sky. When this is seen, not intellectually but directly, something loosens. The story loses its grip. And now we turn toward life again. The fifth movement is return to process. Expectation pulls us into outcomes. This stage brings us back to what is real and workable. You ask, what is the next right action, without demanding a result? Not a heroic action, not a perfect one, just the next honest step. Maybe it's making a phone call, maybe it's listening without correcting, maybe it's resting instead of proving. Action grounded in presence is very different from action driven by fear. One exhausts the heart, the other steadies it. And finally, we arrive at the sixth movement. This one cannot be forced. Rest in not knowing. This is where most people hesitate, because not knowing feels like standing without armor. But there is a deep peace here, one that grows with age and wisdom. Not knowing does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop insisting. You allow life to unfold without rehearsing every possibility. You rest in the truth that you can meet whatever comes, not because you predicted it, but because you are present. This is not passivity. It is trust born of experience. I have seen this in elders who radiate calm, not because life was easy, but because they stopped arguing with reality. They learned how to rest inside uncertainty. And when you do this, something unexpected happens. The nervous system softens, the breath deepens, the mind becomes quieter, not empty but spacious. This is living meditation, not on a cushion, but in daily life. So let me invite you to pause right now. Take one slow breath. Notice where your body is touching the chair. Notice the simple fact that, in this moment, you are okay. You don't have to resolve your whole life today. You only have to be here. And I leave you with this reflection to carry gently. What might change if, instead of needing certainty, I allowed myself to rest, just a little, inside not knowing? Let that question breathe with you. Part 5. The freedom few dare to taste. As we come to the end of this reflection, I don't want to offer you a conclusion. I want to offer you a glimpse, not of a perfect life, but of a different way of standing inside this one. Imagine a life where you no longer wake up quietly negotiating with the day, where your peace does not depend on who calls, who remembers, who agrees, or who stays. This is not a life without love. It is a life without conditions placed on love. When expectation softens, something surprising happens. Without expectation, there is less disappointment, not because life gives you more, but because you no longer demand guarantees. Without the need to control, the fear of loss loosens its grip. You still care, you still feel, but you are no longer bracing yourself against the future. And without bargaining, without saying, I did this, so life should give me that, a quiet bitterness begins to dissolve. What remains is clarity. You see your children as they are, not as unfinished dreams. You see your past as effort given, not debt owed. You see yourself not as someone waiting to be validated, but as someone already complete. This kind of freedom does not arrive with fireworks. It arrives quietly. It often comes later in life, when ambition has softened and the heart is tired of fighting. When we finally admit, honestly, I don't want to win anymore. I want to be at peace. I have met people who lived this way. They were not indifferent. They were deeply alive. They laughed easily. They listened without correcting. They gave without keeping score. Nothing special had to happen for them to be okay. And because of that, everything felt lighter. This is the freedom the Buddha pointed to, not escape from life, but release from the inner struggle with it. A freedom that says, I will meet each moment as it comes. I will act with care, not fear. I will love without holding life hostage to my hopes. You don't have to achieve this state. You don't have to deserve it. You only have to stop demanding that life be different in order for you to be at peace. So as we close, I invite you to sit with this, not as an idea, but as a possibility. A possibility that grows not through effort, but through letting go. And I leave you with this sentence, perhaps not to remember, but to return to. When nothing has to happen for you to be okay, you are finally free. Let that be enough for now. Conclusion. Before we part, let us pause. Notice how quiet it feels when nothing needs to change right now. Sometimes, peace arrives not when life improves, but when we stop asking it to. As we come to the end of this reflection, I hope you feel something gentle settling inside. Not an answer you must remember, but a space you can return to. Living without expectation does not mean withdrawing from life. It means meeting each moment without bargaining, without fear, without the need for guarantees. When we stop asking life to prove our worth, we discover that nothing essential was ever missing. This understanding does not make life smaller. It makes the heart lighter, and the path ahead more peaceful. Thank you for sharing this quiet moment with me today. If these reflections resonate with you, I warmly invite you to subscribe and continue this journey together here on Son.Mindfulness, at your own pace, in your own time. May you be well, may your days be gentle, and may you continue walking your path with calm, clarity, and peace.